Today we're talking about short-term rentals, investments in Bend or somewhere else in Central Oregon. Is it a good idea? Is it too late to get involved? What are the implications, the regulations? We know that it's certainly becoming harder and harder to do, but is it still possible? Is it still lucrative? We're going to be exploring what that looks like in today's video. So if it sounds like it's for you, stick around. We're getting after it right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel or your 50th, it doesn't matter to me. And you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, working, playing, the investment side of Bend and surrounding Central Oregon real estate, then subscribe to the channel, tap that notification bell below so you can be the first to know about the current market happenings here in Bend in Central Oregon. My name's Ryan. I've lived in Bend for over 30 years. Zach and I, we get calls and texts from people just like you looking for help on their next transaction as it relates to real estate here in Bend and Central Oregon. So whether you're selling, buying, relocating from out of the area, it doesn't matter to us. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. We'd love to help you make that next transaction a possibility here in Bend and surrounding Central Oregon, but it starts with you reaching out to us. We have 4 million visitors a year that sweep through the county on an annual basis, many of which come in the summer months. Where do they all stay? Okay, that's a head scratcher for me, especially dating back before 2010 when Airbnb finally came onto the scenes. It's not like it just took Bend by storm too, right when they launched back in 2009, 2010. It took a few years for them to gain a little bit of traction, but it makes me wonder, where did everybody stay? Motels, hotels? And now we have all these Airbnb units throughout the entire county. It's a very popular place to do short-term rentals. So that begs the question, is it still lucrative to get involved? How can I get involved if I do want to invest in real estate and use short-term renting as a means for generating cash flow and helping offset my investment? Well, we're going to explore that today. Bend is kind of on an island all by itself. It's a very popular area. Of course, it's the most popular area in Central Oregon, especially when it comes to visitors and tourists. And then we have the rest of Deschutes County as it applies to, say, the opportunity to have a Airbnb or VRBO or some sort of short-term rental unit situation. So we want to explore what both of those look like right now and give you an understanding as to what you can expect, especially from a cost standpoint, from a how do I get involved standpoint. Is it really hard to jump through all these hoops I have to get through, especially in Bend, before I can get involved? And is it worth the headache or the potential headache to do so? So we're going to explore that in today's video. So back in 2010, 11, 12, when Airbnb kind of came onto the scenes, as well as VRBO, I'm not going to leave them out, there was a few people in Bend, several hundred, that actually understood the implications of this new concept of Airbnb and VRBO, which is short-term renting out your own space. And so people signed up. They started renting out their space, whether it was their entire home, whether it was just a room or a part of their home. And it became very popular because there were so many people in the Bend area visiting, looking for something, somewhere to stay, and they couldn't just go to motels or hotels the whole time. So obviously it gained traction right away. And shortly thereafter, by 2015, it was becoming so saturated. There's old stories of people who would literally just rent out their home and stay in Bend somewhere else because they were making so much money from the short-term rental of their own home. And then more and more people did that. There was no regulation. Entire city blocks, neighborhood areas were just completely short-term rented. And other neighbors that didn't really understand that or didn't have any interest in it were starting to get frustrated. So obviously, like many other jurisdictions, there became certain regulations and rules that apply to short-term rentals within city limits. And Bend obviously is no exception. In fact, it's one of the strictest there is. There are 2 different types of permits as of today, 2024, for the sake of getting involved with short-term rentals. There's a type 1 permit. Those are the ones that you really want. There's not very many of them. There's like 450 of them in town. In fact, they date back to April 15th of 2015. If you can think back that far, 9 years, almost 10 years, that's when we really had some regulations go into effect. But those are type 1 permits. They are transferable. So when you sell the property, that permit, the short-term rental opportunity and permit goes with it to the next buyer. That's pretty cool, especially if it's in a great location, a spot where it's actually very lucrative and where people want to stay just every single week, especially in the spring, summer, and fall, and even the wintertime. So location obviously is key with that. But for those that actually own the type 1 short-term rental permit in Bend, you are in a very good position because that makes the property value even higher, knowing that you can generate what you do generate from a short-term rental standpoint. And some of these homes in town, I'm not going to lie, they're making six figures and well above six figures on an annual basis because of their location, their proximity, how long those hosts have been hosting and doing what they do with the short-term rentals. But location obviously is key. Proximity to all kinds of shops. Is it pedestrian friendly? Is it a place that's close to the river, close to downtown, on the west side? There's just so many great spots that have just been grandfathered in and will hold that type 1 permit for the foreseeable future. So we've got the type 1 permits, and now we've got the type 2 permits. Now, these are non-transferable. These are a little bit less valuable. You got to go down to the city planning department, check to see if you're eligible. You might want to have their phone number on speed dial, especially if you see a house in your neighborhood that's advertising when it's for sale that it is a short-term rental, because that becomes one of those situations where, is it a type 1 transferable, or if it's type 2, which the majority of them are, well, then that might make a different home in your neighborhood eligible for a short-term rental permit. Could be yours. So something to keep in mind. But when you have this type 2 permit, it allows you to do Airbnb and VRBO, and you can do the short-term rental game, but they don't transfer over. And so that's the big difference between, say, a type 1 and a type 2. Now, with that being out of the way, these are the primary restrictions. Of course, you have to check within each neighborhood, each subdivision. You want to do your own due diligence when it comes to finding an opportunity to buy a home that would be qualified for short-term rental. Some HOAs don't allow it. Some certain areas of town don't allow it. But you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence as it relates to what you can and cannot do with each respective property you're looking at. So with that being said, how would you find a property that is eligible for short-term renting? Well, you just got to roll your sleeves up and do the work and do the due diligence, or you can have somebody do that for you, like a realtor. But what we want to do now is just show you a little bit about what some of these look like. I just pulled up right now a list of homes that do have short-term rental permits here in Bend. So I'm just going to scroll through this real quick. And this goes all the way to Sun River too. You have 97702 Sun River area, and then 97701, 97702, and 03. Those are all Bend zip codes. But we scroll through here. We've got prices as low as $475, and then we go all the way down to the bottom of the list. These are all homes that claim to have short-term rental permits. Are they type 1 or type 2? We don't know. We'd have to call and figure that out. But ultimately speaking, there is a list of homes for sale right now that are within short-term rental qualifications, which makes it very interesting. So if we really wanted to do some due diligence and just kind of get a forecast and see what type of potential income you can generate, there are some local services that will provide you with forecasts and projections associated with each respective property. But if we just wanted to play around with it real quick, what we can do is we can just grab a quick one or two of these properties and just take a look at them and see what type of eligibility they might have in terms of potential earning. But we go over to this website called AirDNA. Maybe you've heard of it, especially if you're already in the short-term rental game and you've played around with this. Not sure how accurate this is, but what we do know is that they can give us kind of a ballpark figure, especially with what we know already as being realtors here in the Bend area. But we go over here. This is the 61230 Brook Hollow Drive. It's in 97702, and projected revenue per AirDNA would be $46,400 with a 47% occupancy rate. So as far as the location goes, I mean, let's find out. That's the key when it comes to this stuff. You got to figure out where you're going to be. This is in Southeast Bend. It's going to be close to a lot of new things that are up and coming. We've got Alpenglow Park down here. We've got Caldera High School. It's going to be about 10 to 15 minute drive to, say, downtown, to the west side, to the river. You're going to have to cross 97 to get through a lot of traffic, especially depending on the day. But this gives you an idea as to what your potential nightly rate could be for a neighborhood over here in this particular area of Bend, $268. with a 47% occupancy rate. So, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, but that gives you some understanding as to what type of gross income that you're going to be able to retain as a result of owning a property with a short-term permit, most likely a type 2 permit. But if we look down here, it even projects your operating expenses, and your net operating income would be $28,300. So that's not terrible. I mean, compare that to just doing a long-term rental. You'd probably have to be charging $2,500 a month just to gross that in that range. So interesting. There's definitely some possibility there with these types of projections. And so I do appreciate the fact that AirDNA is doing, say, a relatively modest occupancy rate, 47%. Generally speaking, with projections that we see from local providers of projections, they're going to be about 40 to 45% in terms of occupancy, depending on the location. Let's do another one or two of these. I want to find something that is actually in a key spot that could just be awesome for anybody that would see it. They're coming into Bend for the weekend. Let's go find someplace down by the river and see what type of potential they have. So we're getting close to downtown here. What you can see here, this is Mirror Pond. And then we've got some homes here that are right on the west side of town, kind of like Summit West neighborhood. Not quite Summit West, but River West neighborhood. Just an awesome area here. Let's see if this one pops up. So we've got 1506 Aubrey Road. This is for sale right now. Let's go take it over here to AirDNA and see what it pops up, because this could be an interesting one for sure, in a great location. It's on the west side of town. You don't need the use of a car. You can get from point A to B by just zipping around any other which way without a car. And this one is telling us, okay, AirDNA is letting us know, or projecting, that we can make $120,000 projected revenue at an almost 60% occupancy rate, $562 a night. Let's see what type of, it's 4-bed, 3-bath with the potential of 8 guests. So let's zoom out real quick and take a quick look at where we're located, because this is the key. We're right next to Newport Avenue here. And this is the Newport Avenue Bridge. Crossing this bridge will take you downtown Bend. Just like that, you are that close to the river, to downtown. If you were to continue on going westbound on Newport, that's what this looks like here from this aerial view. You're going to find all kinds of shops and restaurants, several different parks, but you're close to Drake Park as it is. And so this particular piece of property is very interesting and very intriguing in terms of its potential to be a fantastic short-term rental. Let's take a look at some of the pictures here just to get a feel for it. But you can see here, yeah, a very well-maintained home, just fantastic. But again, it comes down to its location. That's really the key. And that's what makes it such an interesting position property, especially when it comes to the possibility of owning it and then having a pretty good revenue or income stream as a result of short-term renting it out. So that would be something, a location I would definitely be looking at when it comes to short-term rentals. Let's do one more. I want to go to Redmond real quick. Let's see if we can just edit this real quick and just head over to Redmond to give you a perspective, because we haven't touched on the fact that outside of Bend, there are no permit regulations. And so you can literally go to Redmond right now or somewhere else in Deschutes County. Let's be honest, Deschutes County is Deschutes County when it comes to the outdoor recreation. The people want to visit here and want to hang out here. So there's opportunity right now in Redmond that, say, was Bend about 10 years ago. And so let's look at some of the short-term rentals right now. These are homes for sale that have permits. Okay, you can go get a permit right now for any home essentially in Redmond. You just got to go get a business license down at the city of Redmond. But let's look at the homes right now that are for sale that also have short-term rental permits already attached to them. So it would transfer over to already be associated with the property. Let's look at this. This is downtown Redmond. 6th Street and 5th Street is downtown Redmond. So let's just show you this real quick. This is going to be the 2 primary byways downtown. Downtown Redmond is really up and coming, because this Highway 97 right here literally just became a outside byway in the last 10 years. It used to go right through downtown. All the trucks, all the semi-trucks, all the passerbys, there was so much traffic down there. I mean, yeah, it was great to have traffic, but it wasn't the right type of traffic. Now downtown Redmond is fantastic. It is a more traditional style downtown. There's shops everywhere. There's restaurants going in. And so this Airbnb here is going to be the focal point for our next exercise, projecting the income. And let's just open that thing up real quick and see. 788 9th Street, listed right now for $542,000. Okay, so let's head on over to AirDNA. Take a look at one property in Redmond. The first two in Bend, 734,000. The other one was 2 million. I think if I remember right, they were projecting incomes of 54,000 roughly and 120,000 roughly. And this home here in Redmond is projected at $36,000, almost $37,000 a year with a 57% occupancy rate. Now, do I think these occupancy rate projections are a little high? I think I lean on the side of them being a little bit high. If we wanted to be more conservative, we would drop that to like 45 or 50%. But it gives you an understanding of what type of income you could potentially earn with an investment property that is eligible for short-term rentals. Now, keep in mind, like we touched on, every property in Deschutes County outside of Bend is going to be eligible for that. There are no regulations right now as it pertains to properties outside of Deschutes County. You can go to Sun River and buy a property and you can short-term rent it. That's what Sun River really is. It's all vacation rentals and vacation homes. But Bend has become kind of a stickler, and for good reason. And so when you do have an opportunity to find one of those properties in Bend that has a short-term rental permit, whether it's a type 1, which is very rare, versus type 2, which is more common, and how you'd go about getting a short-term rental permit today, then it can be very lucrative for you because there are so many people that are coming into Bend, especially in those really, really packed holiday weekends or those packed weekends in the summer when there's a big concert or something like that going on in the area. You're going to be able to demand a little bit more in terms of the revenue as it relates to what you can generate. So short-term rentals, yes, they can be a headache with all the hoops you have to jump through, the regulations, and doing the due diligence and the research to find the right fit for you. But when you do find it and you get that permit and you are eligible to start renting it out through Airbnb or VRBO, it can become a very lucrative side hustle for you, as well as a great place to park your money, because the homes in Bend, especially if interest rates start to come down here, that like we're expecting here over the next 3 to 6 months, well, what's going to happen to demand? Well, it's going to start to uptick again. There's a lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines right now, waiting for that perfect moment, waiting for the rates to go down before they jump in and purchase something. And so if you own a short-term rental in Bend already as it is, and you're using it for those purposes, well, it's just going to help increase the value of that residential property as a result of just being here. Plus, you get to rent it out from a short-term standpoint. So the big caveat here is, how do you get involved? Well, there's some hoops you have to jump through. That's what Zach and I are here for. We'd love to help you guys out if that's something of interest to you. It's not for everybody. So this video is definitely specific to those that are looking to invest and maybe invest some time and energy in education, as well as some money and capital in getting into the short-term rental market here in Bend, because it's booming and it's capped. And so there's great opportunity there in terms of what you can expect in the future. It's just a matter of being patient and doing the right due diligence to find that property that's going to be able to produce a return for you. So we're done with the video today. We're so glad you guys were able to watch the whole thing. If you're still here, learning a little bit about short-term rentals in Bend and surrounding Central Oregon. My name's Ryan. I'm a licensed broker with eXp Realty. I'm so glad that you guys are watching these videos. If you haven't done so yet, like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. And then when it's your time to reach out, if you're curious about short-term rentals, reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys and help get that ball rolling to see if it's going to be the right fit for you. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next video.